There's a lot of people that have a lot of explaining to do in Uvalde. Kyle Rittenhouse wouldn't have waited an hour to do something. No, you're absolutely right. Kyle Rittenhouse wouldn't have waited an hour to do something. He wouldn't have done anything at all. He would have been too busy crying or, well, pretending to cry in court. Honestly, the hero worship complex here it's just gross. It's just real gross. Special thank you to my YouTube members and patrons for supporting the channel and supporting my content. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video. Today we are once again returning to r/insane people Facebook. This is probably the kind of video that is going to upset a very specific type of person if that person watches this, and quite frankly I welcome it, because if any of the content here you get annoyed at based on my opinions, you need to assess what it is you're getting annoyed at over, because we're going to be looking at some severe issues, and if you don't see them as issues, then you are part of the issue. Let's take a look, shall we? The family of 10-year-old Noah Orona asked for donations to help him recover from the mental trauma that has left our little guy with trying to comprehend not only his wounds, but witnessing the suffering of his friends, classmates, and his beloved teachers. Stop sending all our money to other countries, then everyone can have free mental help. We all need it. So by free mental help, you're talking about universal healthcare? Nope, just free mental health for all. This person was sprinting towards finding the point, and then Forrest Gump style just ran straight past the goal. How do they not get it? They're so caught up in their bubble that they would rather call it free healthcare for all than universal healthcare. They despise the term universal healthcare because they've been told to, while saying things like this which campaign for it. Cruz. Ultimately, all we know, what stops armed bad guys is armed good guys. Yup. This is why you don't write a speech for a convention a week in advance and then not update it after events happen. So for anybody that doesn't know, there was a shooting in Uvalde. I think most everybody knows that at this point. The police at the shooting stopped people from entering the building to try and stop the shooter. But not only did they stop people from entering while handcuffing and pinning people to the floor, they were holding tasers instead of the guns that they held, and they refused to enter the building for over an hour. This isn't the only case where something like this happens. For those of you that know of the Columbine shooting, which I'm assuming is most people because it's one of the most famous shootings, the shooting happened 2 hours after it began. The shooters killed themselves. 2 hours after that, the police entered the building. The police didn't enter until 4 hours total after the shooting started, resulting in lots of people to bleed to death. So I ask you this question, Ted Cruz. What good guys with guns? See, when people say things like defund the police and reform the police, one of the common responses is, oh, but you'll need the police when you're in danger. What are the police actually doing to stop the danger? If we defund the police, that shooting would have gone exactly the same. To make matters worse, just to really drive this point home, did you know that more children have been shot to death in 2022 than police officers? I'm just gonna let that sink in. The next two posts make me feel actually sick to my stomach. This is two posts here of poetry. These poems are written from the perspectives of the children and are used to push pro-gun sentiment. That's right, people are using dead children and writing poems as them to push pro-gun propaganda. Let's have a look. Dedicating lovingly to the Uvalde, Texas. Mummy, Daddy, I'm in heaven now. Please don't cry. To the person who hurt me, though I don't understand why, still I forgive you. I pray to everyone to please try. Taking away guns is not how this bad stuff ends. Please remember it was a gun that saved the rest of my friends. Be kind to each other in the times that seem so wild. To all you grown-ups, the burden is easier if you love Jesus with the heart of a child. Jesus said don't fret on why and how. He'll be back soon. Jesus said he wants to play with us, so I I've gotta go. Bye for now. Isn't this the most disgusting thing you've ever read? And this isn't the only one. 'Twas 20 days into the month of May when 19 beautiful children stormed through heaven's gates. Their smiles were contagious, their laughter filled the air. They could hardly believe all the beauty they saw there. They were filled with such joy they didn't know what to say. They remembered nothing of what had happened earlier that day. Where are we? Asked a little girl, as quiet as a mouse. This is heaven, declared a small boy. We're spending the rest of eternity at God's house. When what to their wondering eyes did appear but Jesus the Savior, the children gathered near. He looked at them and smiled. They smiled just the same. Then he opened his arms and he called them each by name. And in that moment was joy that only heaven can bring. Those children all flew into the arms of their heavenly King. And as they lingered in the warmth of his great big embrace, one small girl turned and looked at Jesus face to face. And as if he could read all the questions she had, he gently whispered to her, I'll take care of Mum and Dad. Then he looked down on earth at the world far below. He saw all the hurt, the sorrow and woe. Then he closed his eyes and he outstretched his hand. Let my power and presence re-enter this land. I now send peace to all the hurting mothers and fathers who instantly and senselessly lost their sons and daughters. May this country be delivered from the hands of fools. I'm taking back my nation. I'm taking back my schools. Vengeance is mine. I will repay. Each child killer will have their judgment day. Then he and the children stood up without a sound. Come now, my children, let me show you around. Excitement filled the space. Some skipped and some ran, all displaying enthusiasm that only a small child can. And I heard him proclaim as he walked out of sight, in the midst of this darkness, I am still the way, the truth, and the light. These are awful. Put yourself in the place of these parents. Imagine you have lost a child, one of the most important things in your entire life, and you see people make poems from their point of view, making propaganda. How disgusting is that? How awful is that? I cannot get over that. I can't. What kind of human do you have to be to make a poem like this? To see a shooting has happened. 19 elementary school children have been killed, and you go and make a propaganda post about gun rights. It's disgusting. It's actually disgusting. It's time to let these teachers open carry in the schools. It just might save our kids' lives. So let me get this straight. There's already a countrywide shortage of teachers. Teachers are already underpaid and overworked, and not enough people want to be teachers. And what you want is to make gun training a necessity so that teachers can open carry guns in schools. How American. I cannot think of anything more American than hundreds of children are being killed every month. I know, let's give teachers guns. That will solve the problem, because every other country that doesn't have this issue solved it by giving the teachers guns. Of course, that makes sense. This issue that every other country has solved, you'll solve it in a completely different way. You don't need to look at how everyone else did it. No. More guns. That's the answer. More guns. Genius. American exceptionalism is an actual plague because they cannot look past their own egos. 19 kids are dead in Texas, and this is what you're worried about? Some are the same kids that died from last school shooting. Look at pigs. Same kid dies twice. Kinda ironic, isn't it? So you see a bunch of dead kids and your first thought is a conspiracy? I swear, every time I think you alt-rights can't get worse, you prove me wrong. You people are seriously sick. Go to a psych ward and get some help. Squirrel! What is that response? Squirrel? What does that have a meaning that I don't understand? But honestly, how despicable, how mentally ill do you have to be to see school shootings and go, it's the same kids. They're actors, they're paid actors. There are no school shootings. After 9/11, we didn't ban planes. We secured the cockpits. Secure the schools. After 9/11, we didn't restrict access to planes. We made tall buildings harder to crash into. Oh wait. Yeah, like if you're gonna make the analogy of 9/11 and shootings, a plane is a tool and the building is the target. A gun is a tool and the students are the target. What we did was we made planes harder to board. We made restrictions on what you can bring onto the plane. We added further searching, further security. We made it harder to acquire the plane, to drive the plane, to use that tool. Doesn't that sound a lot like making restrictions? Securing schools isn't the answer to stopping shooting. That's like putting a bandage on a tumor. The tumor is still there. It is still growing and it's still getting worse. The difference is it's just slightly less visible now. This is not solving the issue at all. There are reasons that these restrictions are not put in place and are not moved, but I didn't go to law school or economical school or anything like that. I didn't go to school for those subjects. So I'm not the best person to talk about why these restrictions are put in place. So instead, I've got a video of someone who is qualified to talk about those things. So let's have a watch, shall we? So this is from Senator Jeff Jackson.
Everyone's asking why there hasn't been any gun reform for years. I can show you why. Almost all of these reforms would happen at the state level. I'm in the state legislature in North Carolina. Let me tell you what actually happens. These bills get filed every year. Anything that you think might be a good idea in this space, that's become a bill, it's been filed, and it's been blocked by the majority party. They all get blocked every year. That means they don't even get a hearing in committee. You don't even get a chance to vote on it. Being in the majority means you can do that because you create the rules. Let me give you some examples. A bill to study youth gun violence. Just study. Not actually do anything, just study. That was blocked. Red flag laws for people who say they're going to hurt themselves or other people. Blocked. Bills promoting the safe storage of firearms. Blocked. Even a bill saying you don't have to pay state taxes on firearm storage devices to encourage people to buy and use them more often. That was blocked. Bills to strengthen background checks. You know what happened. But here's the one that gets me. Bump stocks. Bump stocks are used to turn a semi-automatic into something pretty close to a fully automatic weapon. It's what was used by the gunman in Las Vegas when he killed 60 people and wounded another 400. That's because those bump stocks let him rapidly fire over 1,000 rounds into a crowd of people. But that bill was blocked, and I asked a member of the majority party why, and he said they had received word from the NRA that that bill was going to be scored. And what does that mean? It means anyone voting for that bill could no longer get an A rating from the NRA. So they said it's not going to come to a vote, even though I'm pretty sure they would all like to ban bump stocks. So look, no matter what you think about politics or political parties or even the issue of guns in America, not letting a bill even get a hearing in committee because you're worried you won't get an A rating from the NRA is not a strength. It's a weakness. And that's what's actually happening.
So it's the NRA. Is anybody surprised in any way? Because I'm not. It's actually despicable that this is continued to allow to happen. This issue that has cost hundreds of thousands of people their lives over the years is continued to let happen. Columbine happened, what, 20 years ago now? Nothing has changed. How famous is Columbine? Everybody, I'm not even from America and I've heard of Columbine. And yet nothing has changed. Nothing. How disgusting is that? Gun ownership has risen. After every single shooting, we see increases in gun purchases, and yet shootings still happen. This has been going on for decades, and yet people still believe that gun ownership is solving the issue. This issue that is increasing at the same time as ownership is increasing. This issue that has been solved practically everywhere else in the first world. How are people this blind? How? How are people this blind or willfully ignorant? And to move on to another person being willfully blind and ignorant. Guns cause all of this trouble. Kill them! Kill them all! So they're blaming video games yet again. We still haven't gotten past that. It's been decades. There's been many studies on do video games cause violence, and yet they're still being blamed. All I want to know is, man, the video games they must have been playing in the Crusades they must have been incredible. Or the video games they must have been playing in Vietnam must have been incredible. Or I don't know, the video games they had in Ireland during the rebellion, they must have been some great video games. If you think that a simulation on a screen of someone shooting guns is going to rewire a child's head this severely, an image, a video, or a game of someone shooting guns, what do you think the effect would be of a child actually holding and shooting a gun? Children are shooting guns and parents are encouraging it, and then they blame video games for making the children violent. If a video game is gonna make a child violent, what about actually having guns, actually shooting them? Don't you think that would have a considerably bigger impact, considering it's real? It's a real thing, not a video game. The left has gone beyond questioning man and are now questioning the will of God. Dangerous and demonic territory. Lauren Boebert, once again, just not getting it. How is this woman a member of Congress? How does she get anywhere involved in politics? Hey, Lauren Boebert, I know you're not the smartest of people. You did fail school and marry a sex offender. The United States of America is not a theocracy. They are not ruled by religion. There is a separation of religion and state. It doesn't matter what the left believes. It doesn't matter what your religious stances are, what the left's religious stances are, or what anybody's religious stances are, because the country is not founded on or ruled by religion. It is not a theocracy. That has no bearing on anything and never will. And the final post. Congratulations, Elon Musk, on winning over the absolute dumbest member of Congress. In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindest party, but they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold. Welcome to the right side, Elon. It's Boebert again. So the Democrats are pushing division and hate, he says, followed by, now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me. That's pretty divisive, Elon. Followed by Lauren Boebert saying, welcome to the right side. If that's not the most divisive and absolute statement, I don't know what is. But also, Elon Musk was never a Democrat. No, I'm gonna break this down. So Elon Musk might have pretended to be a Democrat, but he's still always been a rich millionaire to a billionaire. He was a grifter. He pretended to be a Democrat because it's what made him the most popular. He then bought Twitter, which gave him control over the things he can and can't say, so suddenly he's not so scared about that opinion anymore. And also realizes that there is a really, really easy audience to find in Republicans. On top of that, Elon Musk exposes himself. Yep, he shows his genitals to a flight attendant, propositions her for sex, and then pays her $250,000 in hush money. Then, knowing that this would become public, he goes, I used to be a Democrat, but I'm a Republican now. Watch the Democrats try and smear me, in a really weak attempt at going, I did nothing wrong, but the Democrats will make it look like I did, to cover up the fact that he exposed himself to a woman and then paid her hush money. What a despicable human being. The fact that he tried to make it out like the left is gonna smear him because he sexually harassed a woman and then changed political party as a cover-up? How pathetic is that? How absolutely pathetic a person is Elon Musk, honestly. So it's not surprising that he moved over to the Republican Party, where Lauren Boebert, for example, married a man who exposed himself to underage women. Matt Gaetz hired a woman who was underage for sex, public record. And now Elon Musk has moved over to that party after sexually harassing a woman and has been greeted with open arms by the sexual harassers and offenders of the Republican Party. It's so fitting. And that's where I'm gonna end the video, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. If you want to support me in making more videos like this, this, then I have a Patreon in the description down below, or equally you can click that join button on the channel to support me, or you can click the thanks button on the video to give a one-time donation. By no means should you feel like you have to do any of that. I'm going to keep making content regardless. Special thank you to Nix, Holly Miller, Kaorianne Mori, Chase Howard, Karen Duca, Top Shelf, Elle, Rennie, Dev, Thomas Penny, Emily Potter, Greyhound, Maxine Lankow, Gravity Gaia, Kelly Bock, Lucky Socks, Carolyn, The Angry Potato, Sven Arctic Fox, Outcast Jupiter, Abel Eris Winchester, Ghost Orchid, Charlie the Mad 256, Kate Cat, The Wings of Ruin, Conspiracy Cake, Two Lakes in a Valley, Ika Limchok, and Agent, Galaxy, Ronnie, Tam, and Bug for supporting the channel and supporting my content. Thank you so much, guys. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Peace out.